Hi everyone. This week's theme of Advent and giving is really difficult to put into text. So, yet again, I'm dropping a quick live video in the various channels here to try and just cover some of the content that I want to make sure is clear, valuable, and insightful for each of you as well. So, continuing the theme of this month, one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, what shall I give? So a bit like the famous song with Bing Crosby and David Bowie, the little drummer boy, when the little drummer boy says, what shall I give him? And of course the answer is, shall I give him my heart? There is always something that we can give which is more personal. And when I'm working with businesses in particular, and in my own businesses that I've had in the past, it was always that challenge of just giving out a cash bonus at the end of the year. And of course, for many people, that is what people want. It's what they need. If you're giving somebody something now in business, then generally they're going to want to be able to spend it on something that they need or something they want at Christmas. But if you want to give something that really means more than the value of just the money, because if you give somebody £100 or $100 or $1,000 or £1,000, it's only worth that monetary value. If you give them something that gives them incredible realization of a dream, perhaps. I can remember giving my contracts manager a gift of a track day, and I took him down to Millbrook to the proving ground there, and we had a whole day driving various cars around the tracks, around the Alpine circuit, and that was his dream. That was worth much more than the value of cash that I could have given him, because he'd never done anything like that in his life before, and he'd never done anything like it since. I've taken people in the helicopter that's behind me for helicopter rides when I had it in the day. So I want you to think about, what can I give? Well, you can give people you work with cash, of course you can, if that's what they want and if that's what they need. But try and think a little bit outside the box this year. Get to know them. Get to know what their hobbies, their interests are, their families. I'll share one other quick story here. I used to work for a construction company many years ago, going back to the early 90s. And at Christmas, they used to collect all the usual construction gratuities, bottles of wine, bottles of whiskey, port, and all that kind of stuff. And a couple of days before we broke up for Christmas, we would all go up into the boardroom, and this huge table would be laid out with all the bottles, and then there would be turkeys at the end. And depending on your status in the business, depended on whether you got a bottle of cheap wine or whether you got a whiskey, and I got a whiskey and I got a port and some cheese as well. And you walked along in procession, and you were told which section to choose your bottle out of. Then you got to the end, and at the end of the row, the managing director, Adrian, would give you a turkey. Now, I was in quite a high up managerial position at the time, even though I was quite young, and I got this turkey that was £14 in weight. It was a huge turkey, and it was only me and Angela. We'd only just got married, so there's only the two of us. And Vera, she'd been there 30 odd years. She was the postal lady. So she got all the posting, the real post, and she went around all the offices, dropping the letters in and the post that are coming into the individual offices. A real important person within the business for communications and getting people what they needed and getting it right as well. When she got to the end, she got a turkey that looked like a quail. It was about £6. And that's the kind of giving that I think is very historic, and that's not what we should be doing now. We should be rewarding people based upon their inputs, and we should be rewarding people that's commensurate with them. Vera had a family of 6 people. So as we're going out the corridor, she was looking at this little turkey, and I was looking at my great big turkey, and got my bottle of whiskey and my bottle of port and cheese. And I said to her, and she was telling me about this family of 6 that she'd got, and I said, look, there's only 2 of us. Should we swap turkeys? So we swapped turkeys. Okay. Later that day, I got a call into the managing director's office chastising me for giving somebody in a low position my turkey, because turkeys of that size weren't for people in that kind of position. So you can imagine what my comments were to that managing director, and I've lived by that story ever since. So think very carefully about what you give. Think about what it shows about your favoritism, your status. Reward people for what they do. Look at your suppliers, look at your clients. I've just been thinking about this as I've been trying to work out some of the gifts for my clients and suppliers, which is going to be very different this year. So when you get asked that question, what can I give? Think about this as we are on the 3rd day of Advent. Start preparing now, if you haven't done already, but perhaps rethink what it is that you're going to give your staff, your team, your colleagues, your clients, your suppliers, but also think about it in your family. We had a conversation yesterday, Angela and I, my wife, about giving the young children that she looks after. And she said, I'll just put some money in a card. And she said, but I don't think that's going to be the right thing to do. So we're now thinking about, well, how creative are they? What do they like doing? It's the same thing. So on this 3rd day of Advent, as we work through this month, just answer that question with some real thought, and don't go for the easy option. Try and go for something that's meaningful, something that is valuable, and something that is connected to that person. And if you really struggle to think about things and you have to give money, just remember, if you're going to give money, give some heart with it as well. Give a big thank you and a smile. If you're thanking somebody by giving them a bonus and it's a cash bonus, never underestimate the value in which you give people that bonus and the sincerity and the thank you that you give with it. Sorry this has gone on for a little bit longer, but hopefully you enjoyed that story. I didn't work at that company very long, so I didn't get to see a second Christmas. I don't know what turkey they got the year after, but hopefully it's giving you a little bit of an insight of how you can answer that question differently today. What can I give him? Think about that. And of course, listen to the song. We're in December. Little Drummer Boy, Bing Crosby, David Bowie, or any other variation of it as well. And as always, I will see you on the posts, more than likely going to be video or text, during the rest of this week and the rest of this month. Bye for now.